Police officers of Reddit, what's what dumbest call you've ever had to respond to? My uncle was a dispatcher in a suburb of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and would tell me stories whenever I saw him. My favorite goes like this. Uncle, 911, what's your emergency? Yes, I'd like to report two suspicious vehicles passing something back and forth in Pottatommy Park. Okay, we'll send an officer out to assess. Uncle, dispatch to car 45, two suspicious vehicles in Pottatommy Park passing items back and forth. Car 45. Car 45 to dispatch, that's me and officer something or other, passing Cheetos? Uncle, 10-4. My friend had to respond to a noise complaint of some young, suspicious African Americans playing basketball in their cul-de-sac. They were staying out of trouble and just enjoying themselves. It was like 5 p.m., he showed up with his partner, and they ended up playing a pickup game in full uniform with the boys. It made the local news. Not a cop, but I used to be in a band with one. The funniest story he would tell us is that he and his partner were sitting on their bikes, the corner, they were motorcycle cops, doing paperwork. All of a sudden, a truck pulls up to them at the stoplight, rolls down the window, and says, "What?" They look at him, shrug, and say, "What?" He says back to the "what," louder this time, and they smell alcohol on his breath. The guy totally got himself busted, got hauled off for a DUI because he was being paranoid. A guy called and claimed that $1,500 was stolen from his truck. He then asked if he could come down to the station to get his money back. I explained to him that we would have to catch the suspect and then he would be paid back through restitution if the suspect is found guilty. The guy wasn't happy with that answer. He figured he could just come down and the police department would give him his $1,500. He said never mind, he didn't want to make a report, and hung up. The guy was clearly lying. I'll bet he felt like a genius and thought he figured out some way to get free money. Had to respond to a fight between two guys that started over a Magic the Gathering game. Since I play, I helped resolve the conflict. It was something to do with instant speed and being able to respond to the instant with an activated ability. Also, I told them in the future to check online for an answer rather than start physically fighting. 911 operator here. Call came in as a possible domestic, male running down the street in the middle of the night behind a female, both screaming and yelling. Second caller comes in, advises they have no shoes, and the man is screaming, I can't believe this is happening to me." Very atypical verbiage for a domestic. Normally you expect more along the lines of, "Fuck you, bitch, I'll kill you," etc. But okay, we should still go. The police arrive on scene shortly after, then update with very monotone voices that everything is fine, cancel ambulance, cancel extra cars, etc. Won't explain further. They are audibly trying not to laugh and only mostly succeeding. Hours later in the office, they explained that the couple had woken up from a supposedly dead sober sleep, spotted a dark presence on their back deck, and ran outside into the night shoeless and screaming. That one made our Twitter feed. Not a cop, but worked at a convenience store frequented by cops. Because we gave them free coffee, we were out in the middle of nowhere. Think of it like an insurance policy, especially for third shift. Third shift, it was dead that night. Coworker and I noticed a car in our parking lot under the light, the one that was working that week because someone crashed into the other one. 2 people in it, car was backed into the spot, driver and passenger were clearly watching the store but never came in. They'd been there for at least 20 minutes. We get nervous and call the non-emergency line for the local cops. They say they'll send a squad car over. Cop takes a few minutes to show up. About 20 seconds before he does, another car pulls up next to the one and the two start trading something through their windows. Cop sees this, blocks them in, flicks the lights. Another cop comes by too. They investigate. The driver of the first car was an employee of the store who was apparently also a drug dealer and chose to arrange a deal, 1, where he worked, 2, where cops were known to frequent, and 3, where we were trained to call the cops for suspicious activity, and even had a few local cops' cell numbers on the phone sheet behind the counter. Not to mention sitting for 20 minutes looking incredibly suspicious under the only light in an otherwise pitch-black parking lot. Cops later said that it was the dumbest fucking thing he had ever seen. Not a police officer, but my father used to be an alderman for the area I lived in. He made sure to be on good terms with the police so they'd call him about anything going on in the neighborhood. One day there was a particularly interesting call. There was a call for an armed robbery at a corner store from one of the robbers. Apparently, two friends decided to go in on it together, and one decided that splitting the money is clearly not as profitable as just having it all to himself. He robbed his friend and ran off with all the money. The friend called the police, got arrested for robbery, and was surprised he wasn't going to be getting his half of the money after all. Domestic dispute call. We got there and the mother of a teenage boy, maybe 14, is loud and upset. Her problem was described as, he's interested in girls. Oddly enough, it happens around that age. Not a thing I could do about that one. Not a me, but a buddy of mine responded to a domestic call where a man had assaulted his girlfriend with a pizza. He pulls up, sees said suspect sitting outside, avidly denying this claim. Then he walks into the house to see a woman covered with pizza and small burns. The man was arrested. I believe this was even on the Jay Leno show or some similar late-night show. Not a police officer, but the daughter of one. Dad told me a story once from his days of being a 911 dispatcher, in which a woman called in a panic because there was a squirrel stuck in her fridge. I assumed it had somehow jumped into the fridge proper. Someone in the house panicked and slammed the door to trap it, but because he didn't want the woman handling a potentially freaked out wild animal with God knows what pathogens, he sent out a cop to decide if they needed to contact animal control. What had actually happened was that the squirrel ran into the kitchen, saw these giant, mostly bald two-legged animals wandering about, freaked out, and tried to climb up the ice dispenser. It got halfway up, got caught in the flap, and ended up just hanging there by its middle, flipping out. They ended up pushing it the rest of the way up into the freezer, just enough for the cold to stun it a bit, and then released it into the wild again. Somewhere, Dad still has a Polaroid of that freaking squirrel. Technically, I didn't respond, but 911 hang-up. Upon recall, a small child answered and advised there was a spider in his house. The officer that responded advised over the radio, the intruder has been neutralized. I lost it. My mom once told me that the phone wasn't working, so me and my sister decided to play around with it and call 911. Turns out it was working for 911. I don't remember what was wrong with the phone, have to ask. We were planning to scream, "Is your fridge running?" We did, except there was a person on the other side. They came over for some reason and my mom had to explain it while we just sat there. Obligatory, not a police officer, but my former roommate is. I talked to him the other day. He had to respond at 3 in the morning to an elderly lady who lost her cat. After several minutes of questioning, the lady making him tea and offering him cookies, he finally managed to ask her what the cat looked like. The woman looked him dead in the eyes and said, "What cat?" I've got a cat who used to do shit like turn on the washing machine, turn on faucets, and when the answering machine would come on, he would attack the phone. One day I found the phone in my sister's bedroom off the hook, didn't think anything about it, and hung it up. Fast forward about 10 minutes and I see a sheriff deputy in our backyard looking through the windows. My mom and I went to the door and he kept asking us if everything was okay. We assured him we were and said the cat probably dialed 911. He kept saying if we were in trouble there were signals we could give him to let him know. I can only imagine what he was thinking about the possibility of a cat dialing 911. We invited him in to let him look around for himself. Eventually he had a good laugh. Not a cop, but one of my EMT friends got a call once to a guy's house for penis lacerations. He said he and his partner got there and the guy was sitting pantless with a towel covering his dick. When they asked what happened, the guy said he was trying to fuck his cat. My friend said that was the only time in his career he had to excuse himself from the scene because he couldn't contain his laughter. Turns out the guy had some deep cuts on his penis. Just yesterday, call came in as kids on a garage roof and didn't belong at that residence. Turns out it was a bunch of kids under the age of 10, all playing in the trees and a playset at a friend's house. Neighbors suck. So I spent about 10 minutes in their front yard with my lights on and playing with all the random siren sounds while the kids checked out the car and got stickers and asked questions. I really dislike bitter adults who try to ruin kids. 12-year-old originally calls police saying there's an emergency, then hangs up. When we get there, he's sitting in the front driveway saying that his parakeet got lost in the trees. We attempt to find the bird to no avail, then tell the kid that he shouldn't be calling 911 unless it's an emergency, to which he replies that of course it's an emergency. When we attempt to go into the house to find a parent or guardian, we located the grandma. We tell her that a 12-year-old that makes false 911 calls shouldn't have a cell phone. The boy overhears me say this and gets extremely upset. The grandma says that he's smart enough to carry his own cell phone, so we just give up and leave. 5 minutes later, we get another call from the same kid alleging that his grandma abuses him.
What started off as a dumb call turned into a very long night.
Thanks for watching. If you've ever called 911 for something that felt silly later, you're not alone. Share it with us.